Sorry, guys. This is Mike with just another G.I. Joe show. Thank you for tuning in tonight. As usual, I'm joined by that guy named Fred. Where they find you at, Fred?
Hey, guys. It's Fred wearing his Tiger Force and his Ring of Shame. You can find me at joebattlelines.com on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, not yet on YouTube, and possibly Google Plus for the 6 people that still use it. You keep up the fight, guys.
That's the way to do it. And as you can see, we have a guest with us tonight. Bobby, tell them, where they can find you at and what you do. Tell them that much, yeah.
How's it going, guys? I'm Bobby Vala. I am a senior designer at Hasbro. Worked on a bunch of Joe stuff and now on Marvel, but huge Joe fan. Love the show. Love you guys. Just want to get out to the Joe community. I'm not on any social media as of right now, but hopefully that'll change. So that's me. I'll just give out my email. It's bobbyvala@gmail.com. So shoot me a line. I'll talk about anything Joe related or toy related. I just love talking about toys and stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah, designer at Hasbro. As an employee, I am not representing the company in any way, shape, or form on this podcast. So just getting that legal crap out of the way before we can talk about stuff.
Well, we appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thanks so much for having me.
And before we get into the discussion and everything, I know we've talked about in the past, me and Fred have both mentioned, since Joe Con, and we did find out that no retail product will be released in the next couple of years until the movie comes out, or maybe San Diego exclusives and stuff of that nature. There has been a couple of new groups pop up in Facebook, if you're Facebook followers. One of them is the Augusta Toy and Comic Show featuring Joe Fest. They are in Augusta, Georgia. They will be basically doing kind of a Joe-related show. They have a Joe exclusive toy, exclusive art. So be sure to check them out on the Augusta Toy and Comic Show featuring Joe Fest. That is headed up by Ed. What's Ed's last name? Fred? Ed, who was that? Shoemaker?
Oh, yeah, Ed Shoemaker, I believe. Yes.
Ed Shoemaker, a good friend of mine. He's doing that. Go like his page. Also, previously on our show, we've had Duffman, a real good friend of mine. Evans is his real name. Him and a bunch of buddies out in Southern California have started Southern Cal Joe Shoy. I can't talk. Jesus.
Mike speaking, take 2.
I know. This is what happens in live TV, man. Southern California Joe Show and Toy Convention. Basically, it's a little bit of everything, but he's really focusing towards G.I. Joe. His show is in Southern California. I'm sure it's in the San Diego around area. Well, actually, no, it's I couldn't even begin to pronounce that name. Go like his Facebook page and see for yourself. The date of the show is December the 3rd, 2017. The address is 29345 Rancho. Gosh, Southern boy trying to talk California is not very good. Anyways, he's out in Southern California. It's going to be their first annual show, so they plan on doing more than one. Go like his page as well. Nothing new as far as really news from the club, except they did do they started a new sales. So go check that out. So they got some discounted stuff over there on their webpage if you're a current member. If you're a Transformer fan, you don't have to no longer be a member to purchase from their club store now, since they have until December 31st to unload everything they have, pretty much.
I saw a fire sale.
I picked up a couple things here recently that were, I picked up a box set that was like 80% off from the original price. So
which for the club is pretty good. I'm going to have to say that's pretty good club discount. So
yeah, it is a good discount.
Which box set, Mike?
2015, the Cybertron's Most Wanted. Okay. That came with the first ever Double Pretender that was going to be released back in the early 90s, and they canceled it, and Pete Sinclair picked it up and got it produced not once but twice. You know, in the box set, and then as a figure subscription service with Optimus Prime in it as well. So really a good solid set. You know, it's only $180. Here I am pushing the club of all people. Look at me.
Here he is pushing Transformers.
I know. Well, I mean, I'll just push the sales in general. Yeah, I know. My bad. Also, get your fingers ready for tomorrow's F5ing on not tomorrow, Monday. Hasbro Toy Shop will have the leftover San Diego items. One of them will be the Missile Command headquarters set that we will be talking about tonight, as well as the Revolutionary set, along with there was a Thor set.
The Thor set is up. The Magic the Gathering cards.
Well, that won't last long. It never does.
That is usually gone. You hit F5 once, it's gone.
Yep.
And I'm trying to remember what the other item is. I can pull it up here, but there's no announcement as to what time those are going up.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes on social media Monday. And just be prepared. That F5 refresh key is your friend. We had posted links to some of the listings over at JBL a while back, and I'll put them back up again so that they'll be up Monday morning. Again, just because you see links doesn't mean that they're available yet. It just means that's what you use when you hear that clarion call of "They're up, get them now."
Yeah, see, a lot of people get confused when they see the link to there and says it's sold out. People are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it's already sold out." Dude, it hasn't even gone live yet.
Yeah,
they just got the link in a placeholder ready to go to say in stock, and then you can go crazy.
I've actually just pulled it up right now. Yeah, all you can do is add to wish list, but
it'll give you
that gorgeous Missile Command headquarters with Cobra Commander, Cobra Officer, Cobra Trooper, cardboard file card holder, and the killer, what seems to me Ken Adams inspired 1960s James Bond era, villain base. $49.99 takes you all the way. They will be limit of 2 per household. I believe that's standard across the board. I think that's the same for all the exclusives, including the, longest name ever, IDW Hasbro Revolution Comic Crossover Mega Box Set.
Gosh,
man, that's a mouthful. So, and we can use this as our segue to talk to our guest a little bit tonight, because I believe, Bobby, you worked on the Missile Command headquarters, as we were talking about before.
I did. I actually worked on 2 of those Comic-Con items. The other one that's going up, I believe, is the 12-inch Legends Daredevil.
Yes. Yeah, that is on the. I just pulled it up. That is on the list.
So I was lucky enough to work on both of those items. But yeah, let's talk about that Missile Command headquarters, because that's my baby.
Oh, Mike's gonna rub it in now.
There it is.
So when we had talked to Daryl DePriest, at JoeCon, on the show briefly, Daryl had talked about a little bit about how he had recently acquired one. That sparked the idea in his mind. Hey, let's, I shouldn't say recently, but he had acquired one that sparked the idea. You went down, you found an unassembled one in the archives.
Yeah.
So take us so you're this unassembled treasure comes up from the archives, and how did it get from that to this?
So it's kind of a great little journey about how it all kind of came together, and I'll never forget it, because I kind of joke with Daryl all the time about it. And I've known Daryl for the 5 years I've been at Hasbro, and he knows how big of a Joe fan I am, and I always I love going into his office each day and spending a half hour just talking Joe stuff. He's a great guy, and one day he came into my office, and I was just like, "Hey, what's going on?" He goes, "I've got the idea for Comic-Con," and he goes, "Missile Command headquarters." And I stood up out of my seat, and I think I gave him a high five, and I said it's a home run. And he goes, "You think so?" I said, "Absolutely." I was like, that just blew my mind. I would have never saw that coming, but when he said that, I was like, wow. And then I remember, so I'm currently on Marvel. I'm on, on the Marvel brand. But I said to him, I got to work on this item. I said, if you do this, I have to work on it. So we kind of, talked to the powers that be, and they were, they were like, yeah, sure. You guys teaming up will be able to do it justice. So they allowed me to work on it, which I was so grateful for. And when we first started, I sat down, I had a bunch of meetings with Daryl, and I was, the main thing was, how should we go about doing it? Should we keep it original? Should we make it, modernized, because we're going to be using modern figures, but how should we do the cardboard pieces? Because those were one of the most important parts of that set. It's also what makes the set as rare as it is. So, I thought about it for a couple days, and I said, you know what? It's so rare, and, so few people have it, and it's hard to find one in good condition. I said, you know what? I want to keep it exactly original. So I said, do we have one around? And a few days later, he comes in my office and he hands me an original box that's like in mint condition. The box is in mint condition. And all the sheets were unpunched. And I held this thing in my hand, and I just kind of like stared at it for about 20 minutes, and it just blew my mind. Because, how often do you see one? It's like, I don't, I have almost everything made, and that's like one thing I don't have. And to hold one unpunched basically has been untouched and unhandled for years, because it's been in our archive, which was amazing. But I had to get this thing scanned, and I had to measure it, and I'm very gingerly like holding all these pieces like, oh man, if one of these comes unpunched, I'll never forgive myself. So we got it all scanned, just so I could see the original die lines, all the original Rudat artwork. And, I after it was all done, I handed off back to Daryl. I said, I can't be responsible for this. I said, I have all the files now. Take this, put it back in archives, make sure it's safe. And then I took all that, and I looked it over, and I said, I want to keep it, not only the size and all the die lines exactly true, but I wanted to keep all of Rudat's original design work true to the original. So I just updated it from marker rendering, which is what the original was done in, and I just spruced it up to have it look like it was done with Photoshop. But every line is all there from all of Rudat's artwork. I followed all of it to a T.
Wow.
There's even, I think, in one of the consoles, it looks like he hit a Pac-Man eating a ball in one of the computer consoles. And I kept all that because I thought, he deliberately put this there. So I want to deliberately put that there. And all the sizes are the same, because I felt that if we make it bigger for the modern day figures, it'll fit the modern day figures, but it'll be a little big for the 80s figures. And then I said, well, because most of these people are going to want it for their 80s collection, let's keep it all, like all the seats are a little small for the modern day figures, but I wanted it to stay true to the original. I figured we can modernize the figures, but I wanted to make sure those cardboard pieces were all original. Even the file card holder, I scanned that to the original size. Everything is the same, the layout of the figures, all the font, everything. And then our graphics team did the most amazing job I've ever seen on a package before. They showed me that box, and I said, guys, it looks original. And they did such a great job that when we first got samples in the office, early samples, I walked around with the box. And I remember I saw John Warden in the hallway, and he kind of like looked at me in shock, and he was like, what are you doing? Just holding that box, just walking around the hallway with it. Shouldn't that be in the archives? And I was like, no, man, this is the new one. And he was like so fooled because the box looked so genuine. So that's just a testament to how great our graphics team did on that box. And then the figures, I felt the figures were the hardest part of that set, because, I wanted the figures to look like their 82 versions. Mm-hmm. And, I racked my brain about the builds for these figures. I had hundreds of pieces on my desk for weeks trying to figure out the absolute best builds for these figures. And part of me said, well, should I go all modern because that Shock Trooper body and that Cobra Officer body are so great? Should I just make them all modern? And I felt that if we're going original with the cardboard in the box, I wanted the figures to look original also. So I did specific builds to match the parts for the original figures, even like the legs on the officer and trooper, or the left leg, it was the same for each one. So I made sure that to keep the legs the same. Cobra Commander, you know, I saw some things online. People were like, "Oh, why'd you go with the 25th body? It's not a great body. Why didn't you go with the retaliation one?" And I said, well, you know, the blaster fit in the back on the 82 version. So I felt that it was the best move to the vintage nature of the item to use that 25th body. I was so nervous about the builds themselves that, you know, with each figure, I went to John Warden's office and I was like, "Hey, is this build okay? Because I don't want to like get anyone upset. I want to make sure that everyone loves these figures." And he said, "Listen, not everyone's going to love the figures, but you're staying true to it, and people will get that." And he kind of gave his blessing on the builds, which I was happy about. Daryl loved the builds. So I just hope that everyone, you know, appreciates, you know, what we did for the whole set to really match what the original was, because it's such an amazing item and it was such a blast working on it. And, you know, I literally love working on that item so much. Like the time that I spent working on it, flip-flopping, when I had some free time from Marvel, I just love that time working on that item, because there's so much history there. The set's as old as I am. There's just so much about it that was great. And, you know, I'm so grateful for working on that item. So thanks to Daryl for coming in my office and saying, "Hey, what do you think of this?" So
I've actually got pictures of the figures up on my monitor, on the second monitor right now. And I just want to say, as a fan of Joe Long, you know, and remembering this set from the Christmas catalog as a kid, and my dad goes, "You're not getting a cardboard thing." And so never having one, I think these builds are awesome. They stand out enough from the other modern, you know, 25th and the Pursuit of Cobra 30th that makes them unique.
Yeah.
I really like the fact that you guys recreated the Tampo on Cobra Commander. We can't say that name, kids. Their lawyers are everywhere.
I couldn't say it in the office.
Speaking, let me ask you this. I mean, since we can't say the name, what made y'all decide to go that route, using that again, since it was already a Joe Con exclusive?
Yeah, it was kind of one of those things where I felt that, I wanted to stay true to the original. And when that original first came out, it had that error version logo. And the one that the club did was silver. It wasn't, you know, original. So I said, you know, it would be okay to do the original. You know, and I felt that it would kind of, I don't know, like, I don't want to say make the set better, because I felt that the set was great as it is, but it was kind of that cherry on top. You know, I felt like if I didn't do it, I'd get blasted on the boards, like, "Oh, should have done the logo." And so, you know, me as a fan, I just, you know, I wanted to do that as a throwback to going as original as possible. If it was possible and we could do variants, I would have done both versions. But I felt that people would appreciate the error logo a bit more in that set for their collection, being that, you know, Hasbro's offered you know, a lot of versions of Cobra Commander throughout the years, and, you know, everyone has a regular version, so this is you know, that signature version to that set.
It makes him stand out even more. And it's kind of like that combined with the parts build. Again, I'm staring at it over here. Just help make these figures, you know, that much more unique, like you were saying, than, you know, all the Toys R Us reissues of the 25th Cobra Commander. And, you know, so do you have a favorite of the three and of the figures that were done, the officer, the trooper, or the commander? Is there one build that you look at and you're just like, "Oh yeah"?
I'm trying to remember which. I think it was the officer that was the hardest build. One of them was very much was who has the if Fred, if you could see it, I'm mad at myself. I don't even know it right now. Which the trooper or the officer who has the pouch on his right leg?
That's the trooper.
The trooper. That was the hardest one. Finding a leg that had a pouch and then another leg that had that quasi knife on the side, and then making sure that, because over the years they're not all the same length, so I would find a good pouch leg, you know, 1/8 of an inch longer than the knife leg. So that was extremely hard to get that build right. If your thighs off, then your calves off, then your foot's off, and making sure I had the right set of feet to match the lower legs, to match with the knees. That was the other thing. The knees, finding a knee that fit each thigh was incredibly hard. So he was kind of a pain in the ass. So I don't know if I'd say he was my favorite because he gave me so much grief. I just love the way Cobra Commander came out. I'm so happy with how he looks. You know, when I first got samples of that one, I was so happy. When we the person who did the hand painted models, you know, I talked to her and I said, this is what we're going to do. And, you know, the head that I had for Cobra Commander was obviously the chrome one. It was the vac metallized one. And I told her, I said, I want you to, you know, spray silver over this. She goes, spray silver over it. Why? You know, I'm like, yeah, well, the original, it wasn't chrome. So it had to be sprayed silver. So little things like that just kind of made him really, really original to me. And I liked it. The only thing I wish I could have done was the helmet on that figure has a sculpted in ridge that was painted for the Retaliation version. And I was like, well, the original didn't have the ridge or the stripe painted on it. So I thought, all right, well, that's the best helmet. That helmet fits that head so well and it looks so good. So I tried fitting the Prosciutto Cobra 30th officer helmet on Cobra Commander, and that didn't have the ridge and that didn't fit. So I was like, well, I'll just put it on and not paint it. I hope that's okay. So if I were to change one thing, it'd probably be that ridge on the helmet. But overall, I just am really happy with the way that figure turned out. And I was glad that the that Error logo came out as crisp as it did, because it really makes the figure. You know, yeah. So I go Cobra Commander.
There was actually a piece of art, and I'm blanking, and I apologize to the artist if he's watching, that I got recently where he did an 82 tribute print.
I bought that, yeah.
Yeah, I did too, and I got the version with and without the logo. And I have to admit, like I'm looking again at Cobra Commander. I'm so glad he has that early rodent-inspired logo. See, we're not saying the name. Because I just think it gives him an extra pop from all the, and again, as someone, I didn't get the JoeCon Cobra Commander that year. I didn't go to that Florida convention. So for those of us that didn't, this is just another chance to get it in a killer display piece. So
the funny thing about that print was that I was just on His Tank one day and you know, I saw that it was put up and I was like, that's really funny because we haven't even announced the Missile Command headquarters yet. So it was like really interesting that he did that print and no one knew about what we were planning for Comic-Con. It was like the perfect unknown timing.
And okay, so I was curious about something that you mentioned earlier. So you have all these parts on your desk. You go through the process of coming up with your build. For people who don't know the process, behind how a figure goes from, concept to parts build to paint. So you came up with the parts build. Then what was the next step in that?
So I came up with the parts build. And then it was just a matter of, because we're taking so many different pieces from so many different figures, I had to find all the original project numbers for all these figures so that our team in China can reference each mold and each figure and get all the parts right. And then, I'll do a couple builds and we'll give it to our model shop and they do hand painted versions that or shot for photography. And then I think we sent a couple builds to China just to reference. But then after that, it's not until I create deco sheets that then go to China as well, along with the figures. And then along the way, it's now in their hands where they're molding the figure, and they're showing us early samples to make sure all the molds are still in really good shape. And if if there's any tweaks we have to make, like, because we're using so many different figure parts, we have to make sure there's no loose joints or overly tight joints, and that everything it fits together really well. So probably there aren't really any issues with these builds, even though I was taking from so many different years, pretty much parts from 07 to 2011 out of. So it all kind of went really, really smooth. As a designer, there's, you do the concept and you do the input, but because these figures existed and I really didn't need to do any input drawings for these figures, I was able to do the builds, and the builds spoke for themselves, and then do the deco sheets to match the builds and the paint masters that we had made. Months later, you forget about it, and all of a sudden,
robot voice.
It's a good thing I made this up.
really awesome. Uh-oh, how much did we lose?
We got to the deco sheets and the builds, and then you froze.
Okay.
And then I held up this.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it was basically just a pretty simple, this was a more simple design.
Oh, no.
The more losing me still?
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of buffering for some reason. I blame sunspots and the Perseid meteor shower.
Let me make sure my connection's still good.
And don't worry, this has happened to us plenty of times. Okay. It's one of the reasons I come into the office on the weekend.
Gotcha. All right. But yeah, so like I was saying, it just it was a smooth process. The cardboard pieces were the most involved. I'd say, creating the new artwork and matching all those lines that Rudat created. That was the most intense. And then having samples of that made to make sure that it all went together, because it was if you built one, it's really difficult to put together. All the way you have to fold. I'm like, these guys, how they came up with this fold process back in 81 to make it for 82, it blew my mind, because the thing is so technically intricate that it's like, here, fold, it makes a seat, and you're like, wow, okay. So that, getting that right was kind of the hardest part. The figures were surprisingly more on the easy end.
Now are you going to be at HasCon this year? Because I understand Ron Rudat is possibly in attendance, and is it going to be a little weird going up, meeting Ron and going, "Hi, I worked on the new issue of."
So yes, I will be at HasCon. I'll be there doing our Marvel panel on Friday, but I will also be there helping Daryl with G.I. Joe stuff. I will be at the Legends dinner. But I'm not going to be nervous about meeting Ron, because that ice has already been broken. It's a really great story. I love this story. It's one of my fondest G.I. Joe memories, I'd say. So a friend of mine in the office, I've known him since I've been working in Hasbro. One day Daryl mentions, like, oh yeah, his uncle is Ron. I said, Ron who? He said, Ron Rudat. I said, no way. He said, yeah. I said, wait, his uncle's Ron Rudat, and I've known him for 4 years, and I didn't even know this. So I immediately went to his office. I'm like, dude. Oh, yeah. I'm like, dude,
I got a rebuttal, Fred.
And stuff. I'm like, he's like, do you want to meet him? And I'm like, let me think about that. Do I want to meet him? Hell yeah, I want to meet Ron Rudat. He goes, oh, cool. I'll set up a lunch for us to go meet him. I was like, oh, wow. Really? So that it actually took us a good 8 months to finally go out to lunch. But I was happy that the timing happened when it did, because I had just gotten samples of the Missile Command headquarters in, and I was like, well, you know what, I want to give him one, because he did such an amazing job on the original. You know, and I stayed so true to what he did because it was so awesome that I wanted kind of his blessing. I wanted to make sure that he was okay with it. So I meet him, and he's such a very humble, quiet guy. And you know, we went out to this cool bar down the street, and you know, and I gave it to him. And you know, at one point, it was such a surreal moment. I'll like never forget. I'm sitting on one side of the table, and then I give it to him, and he's sitting on the other. And for like 5 minutes, he's like looking this thing up and down. And I was like, wow, created the original, and pretty much every Joe for, you know, the better part of the 80s is looking at the set that I worked on based on his. It was just really weird and awesome and surreal. It was so cool. And he loved it. He was so happy that I gave it to him. He was so appreciative. And then he came back to our office after lunch, and he came to my office, and I'm showing him, I worked on all the 12-inch Marvel Legends line, and I'm showing, he like loved that stuff. And I'm showing him all of them, and the new Hulk figure, who's like 13.5 inches and weighs like 35 pounds, not really 35 pounds, but he weighs a lot. He was holding him, and he just loved all of it. And he's like looking around and telling me where his office used to be. And he wanted to talk to me about like my design process. And even that was just weird, because I was like, wow, this guy is like designing toys, and he's sitting in my office asking me like how I'm doing everything. And that was just so cool. And he took my sketchbook, and he did a amazing leatherneck sketch in the sketchbook for me. He was just such a cool guy. I sent him a nice email. So we've been emailing back and forth. Just a really, really awesome guy. And his nephew told me like 100 times, he said he loves that Missile Command headquarters, and it's in his office on his shelf. So, you know, knowing that is so cool. So Ron has bought off on it, and it'll be great to see him again and talk about it some more.
That is awesome. I honestly, just watching you and watching your enthusiasm during that, like that is just that's crazy cool.
I'll show you guys the sketch. Hold on, I actually had it. So if you can, that's the
wow,
awesome leatherneck sketch he did for me. So once I'm closing on my new house this week coming up, and once I get my new Joe room set up, that bad boy's getting framed and going on my wall.
Oh, absolutely. So when we were talking a little before, I know we've been talking Missile Command, but I kind of want to also do a fairness to another project you've worked on. So you mentioned earlier in the show that there's a second exclusive item going up on Monday that you worked on a little bit. And would you mind talking a little bit, you know, for what you can talk about the 12-inch Daredevil?
Sure. Yeah, that like I said, I've been working on the 12-inch Marvel Legends since we started them a few years ago. And I love that line. I think doing us going to 12-inch was a cool move. You know, a 12-inch figure is super awesome, even though I'm a 3 3/4 guy for life. But doing the big stuff was really, really cool. And on it, and then starting it from scratch, you know, so many other lines have been established that I've come onto, that this was something nice and fresh that us as a team, we can start and kind of, you know, put our own, you know, being able to do all those inputs and making those was super fun. They come with a ton of accessories, and their articulation's phenomenal. The paint is spot on. The packaging is great. So when it came time for us to, you know, start brainstorming about what we're going to do for Comic-Con, the general consensus is, oh, we should try out a 12-inch figure for Comic-Con. And, you know, there was a lot of ideas floating around on what we should do. And, you know, with the Netflix series being it is, you know, we kind of narrowed it down to Daredevil. So existing parts, I was able to put together a cool Daredevil figure, but what I feel like really makes that item is the artwork on the packaging. Now, when we sat around as a team, you know, we brainstormed with our graphics team, and you know, the question was who's going to do the artwork, and I spoke up right away. I said, there's only one guy that could do the Daredevil artwork for this package, and that's Joe Quesada. And we were lucky enough to get him for this set, and he killed it. Phenomenal. He you know, I got to see his early sketches for it throughout the time, because you know, I had to answer some questions for him about, like, oh, what part is this, or how does his belt actually look, and seeing that process. And he's such a great guy. I've met him a bunch of times in the past, going to comic conventions, and then emailed with him throughout this process. You know, but our packaging team handled all that. Phenomenal job with him getting the package dialed in. It came out so awesome. I was really happy that my wish came true, and it looked as awesome as it did. And then, you know, we had that extra little touch of putting Braille on the back of the package to tie into Daredevil. Then we had him at our booth at Comic-Con signing that set. Unfortunately, I didn't get to Comic-Con until Friday, and he signed on Thursday. But he signed one for me, so I have it in my office now. But super cool item. You know, love it. If I had to pick, I'd definitely say Missile Command Headquarters was my favorite. I'm not saying that though. But
it's like asking you, which of your children do you love more?
Right. And that was the hard part, because, you know, being able to do a Comic-Con item is a real honor. You know, it's when you do a Comic-Con item, I was super grateful to my team, because, you know, these Comic-Con items are so important, and you want to make sure you do a good job, and your team trusts you to do a good job by picking you to do a Comic-Con item. And so many people are involved that do such a great job. It's a lot of pressure, but it's also a lot of fun. So, you know, for that Daredevil, I wanted to do a really good job, and for the Missile Command Headquarters, I wanted to do a really good job. And getting to do one is great, but I was lucky enough to be able to do two for two different brands in the same year. So Comic-Con was a little more special for me this year than it had been in previous years. Plus the items did well. Seeing the Missile Command Headquarters sell out by Friday was unbelievable. So that was really special. It's doing well, and that the fans love it, and that Daredevil is doing really well. The reaction to that is great. There's a bunch of guys that I follow that do Marvel blogs, and they've had some really good reviews of the figure. And you know, I've reached out to them and told them they did such a great job, and thanks for the review. So yeah, so that item, blast to work on, total blast.
Yeah, the Missile Command, that will be available for purchase at HasCon as well. Is that correct?
I believe so. I'm not 100% sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did have it for sale at HasCon.
Okay,
I have to admit the.
Oh, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
No, I was going to tell. I thought, because of the Marvel 12-inch line, I got to admit, I think the best accessory that was ever made was a little burrito of Deadpool.
Thanks. Yeah, he was super fun to do. You know, we packed his package with tons and tons of accessories.
Yeah.
You know, and I made sure that he had some food in there because the guy gets hungry. But we had to make a special that hand that holds that burrito was made specifically just to hold that burrito.
Oh wow!
So not only did we have to do the burrito, we had to do the hand as well.
Yeah, I actually have that one up there in the box still, and then I got the Captain America one. Is the one I have of that series. Of course, I'm a huge Cap fan, so that worked out really well for me. Nice.
Yeah, Cap was great. My favorite's Thor. When Thor comes out, I think he's out now or is coming out next month, but he was my favorite. I love Thor, and you know, putting a cloth cape on him, and when you see what we did with the head, how you can change the hair and the face in and out to make different versions of Thor is super cool.
He actually was at the Toys R Us I went to yesterday. I saw him in stock on the shelf.
Oh, cool.
So he is out.
Nice. Now, does Mjolnir have the inscription on it?
Yeah, it does not.
I'll still pick them up. I'm not gonna lie. I'm looking at Daredevil again. I think one of the coolest accessories in there, and I'm digging the hands. By the way, not only the wrapped forearmed hands, but just then the other hands. But I like the cowl. I don't know what it is. There's just something about the fact that I could pose Murdoch holding the cowl.
We started that with the Captain America figure because when we were doing these, I don't think it was me that came up with it. I think it might have been my manager Dwight. He said, "Oh, what would be cool is if we were doing an unmasked head," but he said, "Well."
Oh no! It was getting really good.
Oh, damn it!
Bobby's back.
Oh, I think we lost Bobby for a
back?
bit. Yeah, we lost you for a bit.
Okay. Oh, sorry. We stuck a cowl in there from the hold and kind of followed that into Daredevil. So it was a nice little thing we were doing with the 12-inch figures. So I'm glad you like that. He can hold his cowl.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm glad you mentioned the Quesada art because I'm looking at that cover going, man, that looks like Joe Quesada's wire work on the Billy Club. Because it was very distinctive when Joe would draw Daredevil.
The one and only.
Man, that's just... okay, I do have to ask, and this is about another upcoming one.
Okay.
The Hulk at 13 and was it almost 14 inches I've been reading?
I believe it depends which head you have on him, but he should be at 13.5 inches. But maybe with the alternate head, he's around 13.75. But yeah, he is massive. He is a massive, massive, massive figure. It's like the first time I got in a sample and I held it, it was like holding a small child. He's huge. He's huge. And every bit of him is awesome. The detail on him is phenomenal. His range of motion for being such a big ass figure, his detail, his deco, everything about that figure is so cool. So definitely pick that one up because he's awesome.
Now here I was a big Marvel Legends person, especially when they first launched. I loved that line. And
Toy Biz Marvel Legends?
Huh?
Toy Biz Marvel Legends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toy Biz, all the way through the Build-A-Figures, all the way into the Hasbro ones. I have to ask, okay, so 12-inch, it's the new scale. Who would be your dream character if you could add anybody in to the 12-inch Marvel Legends line? Who would it be?
Wow.
I know, like I just opened up the massive can of worms because it's like, what do you pick?
I'm trying to think, because I also worked on the 3 3/4 Marvel Universe Legends Infinite line as well. And I took that over in 2014 and I got out a lot of my favorites. So that Deathlock figure from 2014 is by far my favorite 3 3/4 figure I've worked on. So a Deathlock figure at 12-inch would probably be pretty sweet. I would love to do a Magneto.
Yeah. Oh no, I think we lost him again. In the interim, we can watch Mike drink.
Am I back?
Yep, you're back again. Yeah, so Magneto, that's awesome.
Magneto. I would say Magneto would probably be my top choice. So.
Well, I have to thank you for the Deathlock. I didn't realize that was some of your work. Deathlock and Cable are probably my two favorites from that entire series because I love my 90s characters. I can't help
you know me. You can tell when I took over the line because I started squeaking in like... And there's a lot of like all like the armored the black and silver armored Spider-Man. So you can definitely tell my influence on that line. I love 90s comics. So there was no go by without putting in some of that 90s love. The Cable wasn't mine, but the Cable is a phenomenal figure. But yeah, that Deathlock is definitely my favorite.
Well, and there are just so many that Marvel Universe, or Marvel Legends 3 3/4. I know they changed the name on it. That is a line that it seems like it's slowed down now, and to me, that's a line that could go forever as far as I'm concerned. They could plumb every corner of the obscure Marvel universe, and I could get D-Man and just some of the crazy characters, and I would buy every one of them. I'm not gonna lie, because they fit in with my Joes. And it's kind of like the Revolution set. Do I put Rom with the Joes and that? Do I put him with the Marvel Universe? Does Rom sit on a shelf in between the two, looking a little torn? Like, which way does he go? So, it froze, but Bobby's happy in the freeze, and that's all that matters. That's backwards, dude. I can't even read that. So,
sorry guys, I lost you for a little bit.
Oh, that's okay. Again, this is the joys of live internet. When Mike's holding up Tiger Force crap, I wish it would freeze, beforehand. So,
Fred, did you wear that shirt just to poke fun at Mike?
Oh, he lost
so if you watch the JoeCon episode, I told Mike if he could get Brian Savage to appear on the episode, I would wear a Tiger Force shirt for the next 5 episodes. And son of a bitch, he got Brian to come on for like 30 seconds just to stick his head on and say you lost the bet.
That's
and
awesome.
Then, go back off to, whatever Brian Savage had to do, which was probably lots of con organization stuff. And so Vistaprint and my was where I got this. My buddy Todd Winzerl of Cobra Command on Facebook and Magnum 6 Delta sent me the pattern. And I'm like, I'm going to buy that shirt and have it printed and wear it out of shame. So
that's amazing.
That episode, we actually had quite a few. We had Daryl DeFree stop by for a few minutes.
Yes.
Savage Jr.
The voice of Big Lob.
Big Lob. Brad Sanders was stopped by. Who else? We had some people who were there as patrons stop by. We had a good little turnout on those shows. We were only expecting to go an hour. We ended up going a full hour and a half, maybe a little longer than that, I think. But
yeah,
it was a real good episode. I think it's our highest watched episode.
One of them.
Yeah.
So Bobby, you mentioned being at Comic-Con. I'm hoping you're not frozen. Can you talk a little bit about just what the reaction is to people at Comic-Con? Like when they come and see these exclusives. I mean, is it, as a designer, what's that like to see people appreciate your stuff?
Yeah, he's froze.
Oh.
All right, I think I'm back.
Okay. I was just saying. I was just asking, what's it like, Bobby, to be at Comic-Con? So you've worked on all this stuff, or to be at it'll be the same probably at HasCon. You've worked on these exclusives, and then here are people coming up to get them. I mean, do you get a chance to talk to people and get some feedback from them at that point, or?
Yeah, I mean that's my favorite part of Comic-Con. That's why I always look forward to it. Because being a Hasbro employee, I try to stay off social media. I know a lot of people are on it, but it's not that we're not allowed to. I just haven't really gotten onto social media and stuff like that. But I love talking to the fans. Love it. I'm a fan. You guys are fans. Everyone's fans. So I'm not just someone just like, oh, I just thought toy design would be a cool job. Now it's like I love doing what I do. And I do it for the fans because, they're the people buying this item. And sure, I want to make something awesome, but I also want people to love what I do, which is why I kind of put a lot of pressure on myself, especially with the Missile Command headquarters, to make sure that I did it justice and do all these items justice. I want people to love the stuff we do. And so, yeah, there's some people that I've known over the years going to Comic-Con. I think this year was my 4th or 5th year going for Hasbro. So I've gotten to know, the bloggers and the guys that have review sites and things like that. And now they know who I am, and that's really cool. And I get to, do some interviews with them and, just talk to them. And they're great. Everyone's great. Even when, when they have, negative comments, even negative comments help us make better products. So, I want there to be more positive than negative, which there usually is. They really love what we do. But I love it. I can't wait for HasCon because there's a couple friends of mine that don't make it out to Comic-Con that I see at Toy Fair and New York Comic-Con that I'm going to see at HasCon. So that'll be nice. I got to meet or got in touch with James Cavanaugh and Justin Bell because I'm working on a secret little project with James that I can't talk about. Sorry, guys. But
James is on next show, actually.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But he's going to be at HasCon, and I'll get to meet him in person because we've been emailing and texting back and forth for the last few months now. So that'll be really awesome to meet him. So, yeah, I love it. I wish I can go to all the shows. I'm definitely going to make the trip out to the last JoeCon for sure.
Are you? Good.
Yeah, it being the possible last one, we don't know yet. But either way, even if it wasn't the last one, I would say I'd come out to it anyway, just because I love the Joe fans, and I want to be like a tick. I want to get more into the Joe community because I think everyone's great. They're such loyal fans, and I love talking Joe with people. I tell everyone I meet. I told James, I was like, listen, man, I'll talk G.I. Joe 24 hours a day. I was like, you text me 2 o'clock in the morning. If you want to talk about Joe stuff, I'll talk about Joe stuff. I love G.I. Joe that much. And just because fans are great. Like I said, I'm a fan. I'm a nerd, whatever you want to call it. So, I love the fans. I love it. Thank you to all of them for buying our product and loving or hating or reviewing or whatever. But yeah, any chance I can talk to them is great.
Let me ask you. You want to go? You want to go?
No, that's all you do. I'm just sitting here.
I'm hearing my talk in the background on him. That's what it was. Okay. My question is, Star Wars being doing pretty well in the 6-inch line from the 3 3/4 and the 12-inch. Do you ever think that Hasbro would consider doing a 6-inch, kind of like a Black Series G.I. Joe?
Jeez, that's just the greatest idea ever.
That'd be something I would totally be all over, a 6-inch, Black Series. I mean, with 3 3/4 are great. Yeah. I mean, a 6-inch figure would be even better.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, 6 inches the scale. Marvel Legends is doing so well. It blows my mind how big Marvel Legends is, and then Star Wars just jumping into the mix with Black Series. They've knocked it out of the park, and I don't believe it's just Marvel fans and Star Wars fans. I think people just like that scale, and people are like, hey, if I can have Wolverine standing next to Boba Fett and be in scale with each other like that, that's what I think people are looking for. They're looking for that cohesiveness. I think, which is why obviously why G.I. Joe in the 80s went to 3 3/4. They saw what Star Wars was doing, but it was also because that was the scale then, and things are starting to evolve now, and 6 inches now the new scale. And so many other companies are doing 6-inch. It seems to be what the future is for now. I don't believe 3 3/4 is ever going to go away, and I don't believe 6 inches is ever going to go away. It's just a matter of some things, spike and have their hot times. And right now, 6-inch is kind of what people want in a figure. So back to your question about Joe 6-inch, I think that's probably one of the greatest ideas ever.
Trademarked. No, just kidding. Oh, he rose up on us again.
Oh, no.
No, I was going. Man, wait till he comes back on before I tell him. He'll be back in a second.
Hope it gets.
Oh, yeah, there he goes. Okay. No, I was going to say, you there? You rose up again?
Yep.
Okay. Now, I was going to say, because I got into the 6-inch line for Star Wars because of the 40th line.
Gotcha.
The card back. And I think the card back is by far the one of the greatest things they did with the 6-inch line. I've got all of them. I got my last 2 coming in Monday, which is the Stormtrooper and the Sand People, and that'll give me all of the retail release ones. The one I can't find myself to drop the money on is the pilot Luke from, I think that was a Star Wars Celebration.
Oh, okay.
The foil card. I just $200 is just crazy price. I just can't.
Those rare ones, those con exclusives, man, they're rough.
Yep.
They're rough. That's why the club kills me, man. Their stuff is so great, but man, there's some tough ones out there.
I tell you
but
what,
yeah,
if Hasbro was to go to a 6-inch line, and just think of all the possibilities in troop building. You know, all your troop builders. Talk about the bat collectors would go crazy.
Oh,
I'm
sure.
a bat collector. I collect bats. All the multiple bats. I mean, it'd be crazy. I think. But that's, you know, that was just a question a friend of mine had asked me, and I just, you know, I thought to myself a while back, you know, 6-inch line would be great. 3 3. I mean, I love 3 3/4. Hell, I even like the 12-inch line as well. I collect some of those. But 6-inch would be great to have because, kind of like you said, it's the happening thing right now.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Like I said, it's a genius idea. I hope they do it because I'm looking forward to it one day. Because I'll be the first one that can get them for sure.
You know, it's interesting. It seems like 3 3/4 works better when vehicles are a focus, but 6-inch is more when characters are a focus because. Yeah. You know, that Star Wars Black TIE Fighter, like a friend of mine has 3 of them. And I'm like, Jesus, did you build a room edition on your house for that? Like, those things are huge. And, you know, so that would be the only downside of I'm just picturing in my head, you know, I got into Real American Hero in '82. So, like, I have such a soft spot for the Vamp with Clutch. And I'm just picturing a 6-inch Vamp, and it's like, damn. Like, that's my coffee table right there, the Vamp.
Yeah, it's tough when you get into larger scaled vehicles. There was a time where I was collecting Hot Toys when The Dark Knight came out.
Yeah. Because
I thought they were awesome. So I went back. They lost me when they came out with the Tumbler. I was like, where am I going to put that? First of all, how am I going to afford it? And then where am I going to put it? Yeah. It's the size of like a little kid's Power Wheel.
Oh yeah,
the thing is enormous. So yeah, when you get to that larger scale figure, the vehicles get a little crazy.
That's kind of like, you know, I know Mask is one of those lines that's on the horizon. You know, we saw it with the Revolution set, and Mask was so vehicle driven. I'm just picturing, like, if Mask were to come back, like, how, you know, the scale for that, because I always wanted the Rhino as a kid. I never had the Rhino. Man, a 6-inch scale Rhino would be like the size of, like, you know, a full-size bed.
Yeah.
It would just be this brute. Now, would it be amazing? Oh my God.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
It'd be like, here's the Rhino parked next to a real life Mini Cooper.
Exactly. So, you know, out of all the lines, you know, I kind of love the fact that Hasbro is dipping back into the well of a lot of their a lot of these older properties. You know, I am just old enough to remember the Micronauts as a kid. Oh, but they were like, I had a couple, they weren't really for my age at the time. You know, Visionaries, I have fleeting memories of. If, and again, in a perfect world, if someone said, hey, Bobby, we have this other Hasbro line that we haven't done anything with in a while. If you could work on, is there one that would stand out to you, or would you just like to, or would you stay with like Marvel and Joe? Or
I'm trying to think if I had to. I mean, obviously, if I had to pick any brand, I don't want to. Trying to think how I want to word it to not get in trouble. I love Marvel. I'm a huge Marvel fan, but you know, everyone knows my love is with G.I. Joe. I love the time I spent working on G.I. Joe, but I also love the time I spent working on Marvel as well. But if I had to pick like a more obscure line, I'm trying to remember if Hasbro rights to it, because I know it was a Kenner item, and I'm not sure if they purchased the rights to it when they purchased Kenner, but I was a huge Silverhawks fan. So working on Silverhawks would be crazy. When I was at when I went to school for toy design, we had to, do a project based on an existing license, and I did it on Silverhawks, and I did a lot, some ideas based on new Silverhawks product, because it was just so cool. It's like a bunch of guys in chrome outfits flying in outer space. You can't get much more ridiculous and cool than that. So that, it'd probably be that if we owned it.
Okay. That's awesome, because I don't think I've seen anything with Silverhawks in forever. I mean, Thundercats had a brief, resurrection. That was originally what LJN and Mattel had it for a bit. And yeah, I mean, because I always think back, it was like Silverhawks and then like the Inhumanoids. Like, they just vanished. Where are they?
Yeah, that stuff's great. It's all great. I mean, there's so many like obscure line. We're children of the '80s. We there's not a better '80s. I mean, you hear people talk about it all the time. But when you sit, like all of us talk about it at work all the time, it's like, we all know about these lines, but it's nice to kind of get nostalgic and talk about sectars and wheeled warriors, all that stuff. So great. I wish I had the room and the money to just have completed collections of every one of these toy lines, but I stick to Joe because that's what I have room for, and that's what I love.
I won't lie, I ran out the very first Comic-Con exclusive from last year that I jumped on, and my friends are like, seriously? I grabbed that Micronaut set in a heartbeat, because I had the Pharoid, the guy with the sarcophagus, as a kid.
Yeah.
And again, because it was Micronauts, they were built a little more fragile than other figures at the time. My Pharoid has no hands right now, so to get that new one, it was like, oh, and it was just perfect. He was exactly what I remembered as a kid. Same
That's
colors, awesome. Everything. So
I was a little young for Micronauts, so I never really got into them, but I get it. I think, us bringing that back for that year was cool. We kind of kept the trend going. What was that, last year that Micronaut set came out?
Yeah, that was last year. Last year was an expensive year, because it was the collector, the Marvel Universe collector set, the collector's vault, Fort Max, the Micronauts. It broke my wallet, but in a good way, because that Marvel Universe set, I was geeking out over the accessories that came, the Cask of Ancient Winters. I'm like, I actually have a small one now. We got Lockjaw in that. Like, that was amazing. Oh no, he's freezing.
Always on the answers you want to hear the most of.
It's when I mentioned Lockjaw. Lockjaw is what froze up Bobby. I'm telling you right now. Oh no.
Get you back?
Yep. Yes.
Get you back. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I was talking about because I worked on the collector's vault. I love that set. I love it. And getting Lockjaw in there was awesome. I love that figure to death. Love him. When I first did him, I did him, and I wouldn't say I got in trouble for him, but I was new to Hasbro, and I was a little green, and I thought we could fit that Lockjaw in a regular 3 3/4 inch package, and when we grew one to scale big for the package. So I had the grown sample on my desk for years, and I said, one day I'm going to get that figure out, and I was able to get it out with that collector's vault set. So it's nice to see him in real toy form.
That and Howard the Duck. I actually ran out and bought an extra Howard. He's on my desk at home, and Howard is, don't judge me. Howard is standing next to my favorite Joe, so it's Howard and Gung Ho, because I don't know why, it just makes a weird sort of sense.
Hey, I got a question off the chat. Someone had asked, now that IDW has a set, will we see more IDW in the future across all lines? If you can answer, just consider that a hint.
I mean, I don't know the answer, unfortunately. I hope they do. I think that would be great for them. IDW is a great partner. So I wouldn't be surprised to see more IDW stuff down the line, but you know, I don't know personally if they're doing anything like that. So yeah, sorry, I didn't have a better answer for that.
No, that's fine.
I think part of the answer to that, Mike, would be if that set sells well. I think, you know, while Hasbro's in the process of rebooting everything, it'd be, you know, if it sells really well, they'd almost be kind of silly not to do another one. Hint, hint, give me Baron Karza, please, in a bigger form.
Also, you do some work with the G.I. Joe Collectors Club as well? I froze it.
He's frozen.
Daryl helped me get involved with those guys because, you know, while I was working on the Missile Command headquarters, when Mark Weber, who's a good friend of mine, when he was still with the company, you know, he would kind of ask me like, "Oh, what do you think of these builds?" And you know, I would start to kind of get involved with those guys, and then you know, they let me kind of do some more hands-on with them, and you know, those guys are great. I love talking with those guys, emailing with those guys, helping those guys out. So I had a bunch of I had a folder on my computer that was all just custom builds. Like, hey, if you guys ever need you know, builds, here you go. And I gave them like 10 or 20 figures, and I think they're going to do some of them, hopefully, fingers crossed. But you know, it's cool to work with those guys and have them bounce stuff off me, and you know, be able to help them out when they need help, if they, you know, tracking down project numbers or parts or things like that. Like, I love Lanning and I love Dave. They're all great guys. Cool with me. I'm cool with them. I love what the club does. So any chance I can get to help those guys, I jump at it, because you know, it's not just, you know, the love of Joe, but it's just the love of making toys. I mean, they don't need my help. They do a phenomenal product as it is. But whenever they need my help, I'm there. You know, in the little bit that I can contribute. So
now, have they done anything that you've contributed to them as far as builds? Have they already done a build that you contributed to them, or it's something you just recently gave to them?
They did. So the Battle Force 2000, that was something I didn't know when they had started stuff like that, but I had Battle Force 2000 builds, and I sent them Battle Force 2000 builds. And I don't know if like I can't personally take credit if they used any of the builds that I went with. I noticed that some of the parts are the same that were in some of my builds as what was out there for the set. If they did, that's awesome. But you know, maybe we just have a good taste in figure builds. But what they put in for that set was spot on. I thought that you know, I looked at what they did different from what I was like, oh yeah, I could see that makes more sense. So if they use them, thanks so much. That it'd be great to have a little hand in it. But you know, if I didn't, then that's awesome that they put out such those characters. Like I said, if they end up doing any of the figures I gave them along the way, that I would love it. Cross that those ones get in.
Uh-oh.
For next, we'll see.
Well, Bobby, I know you didn't work on this set, but I know you work with, you know, people who may have. I just wanted to say, if you talk to your office mates, tell them that they knocked it out of the park on the other G.I. Joe related exclusive this year, the Revolution set, because I have been just poring over that thing since I got one early, and the fact that I own Rom the Space Knight, first of all, is a huge thing, but like solid killer work on that by whomever did it. So
the team that worked on that set did a killer job.
You're right, Mike. It's me.
Yeah.
I make people freeze. I make people freeze. It's me. It's the Tiger Force.
Oh no! Don't blame.
Yeah, no, it's the Tiger Force.
It's not Tiger Force's fault. It's not Tiger Force's fault.
So you can still hear us when it freezes. That's hilarious.
Oh man.
Yeah. So what I was saying was that yeah, I didn't have a hand in that set. The only little bit I contributed to that one was with Roadblock, but the team did a killer job with that set. They all look great. I didn't see it until like it came out, and I was like, wow, I didn't expect them to do all these figures at 3 3/4 inch scale, and I was like blown away, and I was glad I was able to get a set because it definitely has a place on my shelf with the rest of my Joes because they look so good.
That set to me was such a shock because I don't think it was revealed. I'm thinking back. It was like, what, 2 weeks before Comic-Con?
Yeah, it was really close to the show.
Like kudos to Daryl and whomever for keeping that under their hat because, you know, we were excited about the Missile Command set, and then we were excited up here because now there were 2. And it was like, oh, son of a gun. That Hasbro Toy Shop day is going to be brutal.
You know, it's funny you should mention. I don't think I mentioned it on this one. I think it was on the other podcast I do. We were talking about that set and how, or maybe it was on the Hangout edition we did last week. What it was that, you know, someone had posted on Facebook about it. And I was like, well, you got Mark Webber to thank for that. And Mark Webber actually chimed in on my comment and said, hey, thanks a lot, Mike, you know, blah, blah. And then we talked back and forth for a couple of minutes. And then I said, you know, we really love to have you on that podcast one of these times. Didn't hear another word after that. So
I think there are probably certain legal issues. But Mark, if you're paying attention, dude, I owe you another beer.
He's a great guy. I think I'm having lunch with him tomorrow. I think I have to see. I know we had talked about it, but he's a good friend. Great guy. Great guy.
We were huge fans. I actually talked to him a couple times at Joe Con and BotCon, and he's a great individual to talk to. A lot of knowledge with that man.
Oh, yeah.
And he's and, you know, he has his favorite character, which is Skywarp. We won't hold that against him, but that's okay.
Dude, Skywarp's awesome.
Megatron's better.
Oh, Skywarp's got that badass purple paint scheme though.
Skywarp is what is he died in the '86 movie. He's a clone
of
now.
He didn't.
Oh, he's dead.
On my toy shelf, was it Machine Wars? That was the subset for Skywarp? It's one of the few recent Transformers I own, and I have Machine Wars Skywarp, Machine Wars Starscream, and now I'm putting Jetfire up there with them, but that Skywarp just kills it with that color. Plus, I gotta say, the current comic, I love Buddy Cop Skywarp rock and roll. I don't know why. It's kind of like I like Buddy Cop Action Man and Cup in Revolutionaries. I don't know why. It just works.
I did not read all the Revolutionaries at all. I didn't have none of it. But then I saw where I stopped for it when I saw the last issue was going to have Sergeant Rock.
Sergeant Rock? Oh,
yeah.
You're crossing DC lines, man.
Who is
Sergeant Savage?
Okay, Savage. I'm sorry. Savage. Then I was like, okay, now I got to get. So I picked up number 6. I got number 7 coming next week. And then Dakota's going to borrow his issues when I go down to Louisiana next week.
I have to make a new sign. I threw the old one away.
Damn it. He's fixing to pick on me some more.
That's what I say to you. Oh,
see what I put up with, man? I swear, I just don't get it. There was one week he said I wasn't a Joe fan because all you see behind me is Transformers.
Wow.
But then I had to go take pictures of everything.
I just gave him crap, and it was great because then I love seeing pictures of people's collections, and if it took a little bit of mockery to see the other side of Mike's man cave, then I win. So,
well, I mean, I got my 12-inch GI Joes up there, and I got 12-inch GI Joes over there. So I got my GI Joes. Leave me alone. I got this killer case, man. I told Fred. I think I showed you the case, didn't I, Fred? The case.
Yes,
I think it's like a trophy case. It's 6 foot tall, 4 foot wide, and about 2 feet deep.
Man,
a place was selling it for $30.
What?
Yeah, I was like, "What's your address? I'll be right over there in my bread truck." I went over there all the way to West Little Rock to my bread truck, backed it down this narrow-ass little alley, got to like the last 30 yards. I had to get my two-wheel dolly out and dolly it up to my truck. I got that sucker for $30.
That's awesome.
I would have got it for free if I think the pothead that was there didn't say that to me. I went to the front. Here's your $30. Oh, okay, man, thanks. Jesus. I could just drove off of it. He'd never know the difference.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was in a vape store, so I had to clean all the vape fumes off of it. That took a while to do, but I mean, it came out, has a light inside, and everything works just fine. Real nice. I really enjoyed it. So, now I put all my GI Joes in there from top to bottom.
Yes, they're just conveniently out of frame.
Shut up, Fred.
I'm getting more pictures out of it. I can tell you right now.
Now I'm going to move my computer to the other side of the room.
Please, Mike. I'm in my office at work, and besides the GI Joe pictures,
that's all
over my head, I hid in our social media icons an Adventure Team logo.
Yeah.
And one day, my boss was in the office, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I recognize all these platforms. I think I used that one on the end." And I went, "No, you don't, dude. No, you don't." But it's okay because it's kind of hilarious. And I had a client that came. I work at an ad agency. I had a client walk in and go, "Oh yeah, this one's up at because on the other end of the room we have a Ghostbusters logo that I threw in." And they were like, "Oh yeah, I think I reckon."
No,
it's okay. It's okay.
Well, so tell me, how many GI Joes do you have in your collection?
Oh man, I don't even know. Unfortunately, all my Joes are in storage. I sold my house a couple months ago and staying with our in-laws now. We closed on our new house on Friday, and one of the main reasons we bought the new house is because I needed a bigger Joe room. But I can't wait to get in that house because that Joe room is going to be phenomenal. Hopefully, once I get it set up, I can show you guys pictures. I have pretty much every figure. I'm not a huge vehicle guy. I'm all about figures, but I've just about every figure from 82 to 94, and then 07 to present.
Nice.
All that stuff in the middle, I don't really wasn't really a huge fan. I've got some crazy stuff in my collection. I have a flag. I have a Terradrome. I got a cool piece of original file card art. I got a lot of cool prototypes. I'm a huge Steel. My Steel Brigade collection is pretty intense. I've got enough to the point where when we're looking for houses, my wife has to say to the agent, "Well, where's your Joe room gonna go?" That's you got a serious collecting problem. But I mean, lucky for me, working for Hasbro and being a GI Joe fan was slightly beneficial. Because I'm able to have some cool stuff in my collection by meeting people and getting stuff over the years. But yeah, I miss it. I miss stuff. I miss making it old fashioned and walking around my Joe room just looking at stuff. So I can't wait to get back to that. So hopefully I'll get it up soon enough, and hopefully next time I'm on, you guys will see a crazy GI Joe collection in the background.
When my better half and we bought our house, we will have been there 5 years now, and so it took us a while to find a house. And I remember the same thing you were saying. We were talking to the realtors, and they're like, "Well, well, do you need a room for an office?" And I'm like, "Oh, an office would be nice, but what I need is," and she's like, "He's got a toy room." And I'm like, no. And so I had to explain. And thankfully, our realtor was a friend of our family. So he didn't think I was completely nuts. But you're going to have the best day. I'm just going to tell you coming up when you move in, you get settled in, get the rest of the house set first.
Yeah.
Because then take one Saturday, go get a cooler of your favorite microbrew. And just, man, it's a day of just unpacking and setting up. And it becomes amazing.
It's going to be more than a day. It's going to be a month. Because the way I set them all up, like I set them up so that the figure and his file card are the figure, and they're all lined up next to each other through year,
nice.
All in order. So luckily they're all packed in Ziplocs. Everyone's got their accessories and their file cards, so it's going to be easy unpacking, but meticulous day or days of getting them all out. My flag, I've never actually set up my flag. I'm really upset about that. I bought the flag. It needed a couple pieces, and I got all the pieces, and I got the speaker, the intercom, and brought it into work, and actually got my electronics engineer to fix it so that it actually works. But that was what I needed. But now it's like, oh, I have this flag, this complete flag that I haven't even set up yet. Like I finished my Terradrome and then had to, you know, take it all apart to pack it all up. Took all you know, I just finished a Night Raven, so packing that all up. But the flag really hurt because I never saw one as a child. I never actually thought it existed as a child. But, you know, over the years, I smartened up and realized it was.
You're going to need a good size surface to put that on. I'm just going to tell you. I know you're frozen, but you're going to need a good size. Like, go to Walmart, get these things that stand up. They're 2x3 cubes that you can use for storage. I had a friend that suggested this. He got 2 of them, put them back to back, turned them so they went horizontally. He went out and he went to Menards is a home improvement chain out here. He got a door, an actual unfinished door, set it on top of it so that the cubes underneath were storage and the door went beyond it. And then he just put a piece of cloth over the top of the door, put the flag on top of it. It's the center of his room. It looks amazing.
That's a great idea.
And then you've got the under storage, you know, still.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about it. I was looking online at people's collections and seeing how they display their flag. The flag is actually, because the room is huge and long. It's like the room is like 13. It's a huge room, and the flag is going to go in the back. That in the middle is where I'm going to get like one of those high top bar tables, and that's where the Terradrome is going to go. Yeah. But yeah, that's a great idea. Thanks for telling me that about the flag. That's a really great idea. I'll definitely do that one. It sounds simple enough.
I miss play sets, man. And I still have to say the original Joe headquarters though is still my favorite, and it's
so good
because it was like how many years into it that I owned one did I realize that the vehicle bay was designed to accommodate everything, and it had the divots for everything. You know, you could put the HAL in there. You could, and I'm like, you know. That team was so spot on. Yep. Or like the picture, and I'm ashamed to say it. I did not know that little bracket inside the Terradrome doors was designed to hold the claw gliders until just recently.
Was it really?
There's a picture going around, that weird little bump in the Terradrome door, and somebody posted a picture that you could set your claw glider on that.
No way.
Yep. Perfectly. And some people are like, well, I knew that since, you know, the 80s. And the rest of us are like, dude.
Jeez, I didn't know that.
It makes the Terradrome even cooler.
Yeah. Shit.
Like,
that's awesome.
Well, I see Mike's waving his hand. I don't know if he's telling us.
Stretching my arm out. Old age.
Well, Bobby, I just want to thank you for coming on tonight. It has been awesome. You know, because your passion is contagious for this. I mean, when you started talking about that missile command set, I was already looking forward to it Monday. Now I'm like, son of a, no, I'm really going to be F5, F5, F5. Come on, baby. Get in the cart.
Well, I hope you get one. But yeah, no, don't thank me. Thank you guys. You know, I was so psyched to be able to come on and to have the honor and privilege to work on such awesome stuff that you guys want to talk about. You know, I started listening to the show and I said, man, these guys are awesome. They sound so cool. I want to sit down. I want to talk to these guys.
I owe him money
for having me on the show.
Oh, absolutely. We appreciate you reaching out to us. And when I told Fred, I remember I sent him an email about it, and he was like, are you for real? You know, he was like, he couldn't believe what I was telling him. I'm like, yeah. So it worked out really well. And, you know, we always work hard to try to find a conversation each show. Because we're like, well, the Joe Cons are with, FFS has already gone through, and there's nothing coming out right now. So we got to come up with our own ideas. And so far, knock on wood, we've done pretty well for ourselves.
Well, and
doing a great
Comic-Con
job.
exclusives are killer, man. I'm telling you. Yeah. Comic-Con exclusive, like Hasbro, you guys have done some awesome stuff in the past. I loved the Sky Striker Jetfire set from years ago, and the very first crossover where Starscream and Cobra Commander, still love that. But son of a gun, like this year, like seriously, I don't know where the bar is gonna go.
I know, right? How do you top that stuff?
I mean, Missile Freaking Command. I even showed a picture of it to my dad the other day. Okay, my dad's like 80 something or other, and he recognized it. He recognized the box, and he was like, "Yeah, didn't you get that as a kid?" And I'm like, "No, you didn't want to buy it because it was cardboard." And he goes, "Oh, that's too bad." And that's all he's like, "Are you kidding me?"
That's hilarious.
So, but he's like, "Well, that looks just like the original." And I'm like, holy crap. Like Mike, because, of course, as a kid with a Sears catalog and a scissors, you cut that page out and you taped it to the fridge and you had circled what you wanted. And he even my dad recognizes how identical and how, close it is to the original. So
that's awesome.
Well done, dude. Awesome. Well done.
Thanks. And because I went back and I have been listening to you guys from episode 1 and in order along the way, I found something pretty hilarious, and I was like, should I admit this to Fred? But Mike's gonna be real happy about it. I am but I
damn it, he froze on us when he's fixing to tell me something interesting. What was it?
No, I know what he's talking about. He's talking about this. He loves Tiger Force.
I was going to say I love Tiger Force.
There we go. Yeah.
I swear, I don't know why. We had Kirk on here. Kirk loves Tiger Force. We had Kirk last week. And every review I've ever done for JBL over the years, if it's Tiger Force, they almost always open with, "I've never been a huge fan of Tiger Force." It's why I've put off reviewing that convention set, because I'm just going to have to make a graphic and go, my first comment, boom. I don't know what it is.
I get it. I get that it's not for everyone, because I'm a huge Cobra La fan.
Oh, hell yeah.
But not a lot of people. And I get it. But hey, it's like a fine wine, I guess.
Now, Valor versus Venom era Tiger Force, when they brought it back in the Valor versus Venom era, and the colors were a little more Vietnam jungle-y. Yeah. Man, those were all. I mean, that Tiger Force crosshair is amazing.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of that era, but that stuff was pretty spot on. Even that TRU pack with Jinx and Stalker, I felt that set was pretty good for its time. I actually just bought you guys know Red,
Darren,
the custom guy. I just got on eBay because I love Steel Brigade and I buy anything Steel Brigade. They had a 3-pack of custom troopers. It was a Night Force, a Sky Patrol, and a Tiger Force Steel Brigade figure, and I was like, yup, instant buy, instant. He looks real ridiculous, but I love it. I think it's great.
I bought Red Laser's Shockwave and Soundwave bats, and he has them up once in a while, and they are awesome. They're like the weird little fusion Transformer Joe pieces. So
I actually want those. They'll be able to find them on sale, or someone selling them. I always see people posting them.
I wanted to get the Dreadnought grape soda machine bat, and I missed it. And I'm like, darn it, Red Laser, I know you're popular, man, but it's killing me, because there's not he makes enough that a lot of people can get him, but I think he's doing an awesome service for the fans. There's just not quite enough at times, but that's the way it is. So
it's funny you should mention how the Tiger Force and everything, where I didn't I wasn't a huge fan of Battle Force until this set came out. but I really dig the Battle Force set.
Yeah, Battle Force is another one of those things where you know, it's like a fine wine. You know, some people love Battle Force or some people hate Battle Force, but I thought they were cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed them as well.
Sorry about that. The cleaning crew showed up. I'm at the office on the weekend.
They're like, what are you doing here? You're like, what are you doing
I know.
here?
I was like, well, because he can only hear me. He can't hear you guys. So he's like, there's someone here and they're talking to themselves. Do I say anything? Do I back away slowly? So
I was thinking about doing it from my office. I was like, oh, I can go into the office and do it from there. And I'm like, oh, wait. There's too much stuff in that office I can't show. So
I was going to say there'd have to be like a curtain. You'd be like, pay no attention to the stuff behind the curtain.
It's funny. It's actually funny you should mention that. A couple of years ago, Pete Sinclair was on a show called, it was the show I'm currently on, called Cybercast. And he did it not once. He did it once before I joined the show, and then he did it once after I joined the show. One year, he did the show, and the team didn't realize it, but someone on TFW realized it, that right beside him on his desk, he had the whole 2015 convention set lined up on his desk. All the exclusives and everything. And people were trying to make it out. They got some of it right. Some of it they didn't get right. It was really kind of funny. And then after that, we were doing another interview with him. He got up to go do something, and behind him on the floor was a box. It was a Combiner Wars Leo. Was it Leo Kaiser? It was a exclusive. And it wasn't out yet, hadn't been announced yet, but it was sitting there in the box right behind him. And when we saw it, Dakota was like, holy shit, that's a Leo Kaiser back there. We all started looking and talking. And then he got on there like, dude, you got to start cleaning up behind you before you get on the show. And we were like, oh, damn it, you weren't supposed to see that. So it was, we know how sometimes that can be. But when they saw that convention set, boy, the speculations, I mean, people had zoomed in and they were drawing in multiple colors the outline of the figure. And I mean, it just went crazy on how people were trying to figure out what it was. It was hilarious, actually.
Years ago, I worked for a website that's now defunct. It's Ring of Collectors, and they're out of Jersey. Well, we went to go visit the Four Horsemen studios, and it was back when the Horsemen were working on Mattel's Masters of the Universe line. So when you went into their studio, the first thing you saw was this wall, and it was this huge wall. It was like their lobby, and it was all the 2-ups from the Mike. It was then the Mike Young Productions Masters of the Universe line, and all these different figures to scale. And so we were in there, and I'm like, man, I saw I had a couple pictures I took, and they're like, well, you can't publish this. I'm like, no, it's all good. And so we went through and we saw a bunch of stuff that was being worked on. Well, another website had gone through and they just took pictures. They hadn't said anything, and they posted them on their website. And there were 3 characters in there that Mattel hadn't announced yet. And they had to go back and, well, all they did was they just shaded out the outline of the figure. Oh. So it was still enough that people were like, is that Clawful? Is that Claw? People were like going nuts because, it's He-Man, and those designs were usually, He-Man characters were usually built around like one distinct characteristic. If you were the guy with the giant claw, you were Clawful. If you were, the Elephant Man, you were Snout Spout. So, yeah. Well, guys, I have to jump off here shortly because I've got, I got to go get some stuff for the house tonight. But Bobby, again, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and just hearing, the design process and all the care that went into that Missile Command set. And you've made me want to buy it even more on Monday. So again, everybody, as much as I'm not trying to get competition for this set, Monday is the day. The links that are on that I had up on JBL's homepage for the two Joe related exclusives are good. I'll put up a new link tomorrow, which will be to the exclusives page that'll have everything. If you want to see, it's one of those things where I have a feeling if we as fans want to see more stuff like this down the road as exclusives, we need to show with our wallets. So get in there, snag the Revolutionary set, snag the Missile Command set, and if you like the work that's coming out, don't be afraid when you see people like Bobby at the cons to let them know that you appreciate all the diligence, like when you were talking about the officer and the trooper and getting the legs right and getting the pouches right and getting that Cobra logo done again, like that kind of care shows a real passion. And so we appreciate it, man.
Fred, so what time are you going to start Monday trying to get your set?
Oh, I'm going to be on all damn day. Hasbro's Eastern time. I work 8 to 5, so I get to the office at 7:30 Central time. So I'll be like F5, F5, F5. I'll post on JBL's Facebook page when they're live. I may wait until after I put stuff in my cart first.
You gotta run through that cart system and get it done.
Because I've had stuff leave my cart before.
Yep.
Gold-headed Destro. But yeah, Mike, if you and Bobby are gonna keep talking, that I just need to jet because the cleaning guy's here, so I gotta go. But
that's fine. We're fixing to log off. Go ahead and tell people where they can find you at, Fred.
Oh, I'm at Joe Battlelines. It's 3 words smushed together to make this weird Gestalt Voltron-esque combo. So joebattlelines.com, Twitter, Facebook, all the usual platforms.
And Bobby, tell people where they can reach out to you. I know you don't do social media.
Like I said, I'm not on any social media, but I'll give out my personal email. Feel free to email me about anything. It's just my name. It's Bobby Vala, BOBBYVALA @gmail.com.
There you go. And I'm Mike, your host. You can find me anywhere here on YouTube, and you can find me on Twitter as BotconFan1978. And we'll be back in 2 weeks, regular time, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, with James Kavanaugh with us as a guest. Knock on wood. I think that's a sure thing, right, Fred?
Yeah, I'm going to be confirming with him this week, but yeah.
That's what we're looking at. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Be sure to catch us on the outskirts. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.